welcome you to Ensenada, Baja, California, and the running of the Pemex Baja 1000, North America's longest off-road race. A 1,013-mile trek that will take racers through just about every kind of terrain on their way to La Paz. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with On Dirt Magazine's field reporters who'll be feeding us information along the way. We also have our own Marty Reed, who is among the racers on the streets of Ensenada.
Here in the streets of Ensenada, an almost carnival-like atmosphere as the drivers and crews and spectators get ready for this year's Baja 1000. 1,000 miles to the south, La Paz, and there will be another celebration for those who managed to survive this grueling test in the desert sands. It is going to be a matter of survival for all the drivers. It's an accomplishment just to finish this race, let alone win.
This is the 19th running of the Baja 1000, the granddaddy of all off-road races. It all started back in 1967 when a group of daredevils decided to test their skills and endurance on a race from the border town of Tijuana to the fishing village of La Paz, located on the Sea of Cortez. Back then, there were no paved roads to La Paz. There was only the rocky, dusty road which racers and their crews were forced to take. There were only 7 classes back then, including 1 class for motorcycles. It took the winner 36 hours to complete the race, and the race crews 1 week to get there. Preparation for these vehicles has been going on for about a week. There are always a few minor adjustments to be made. Some estimate the leaders will finish the race in 18 or 19 non-stop hours, while others will use almost all of the allotted 42 hours to complete this race. Any way you look at it, it's a long time to be on or inside a race vehicle, so it had better be comfortable and well prepared. The crews who support these race vehicles are also an important part of the race. Marty is with the current Class 7 4x4 points leader, Jerry McDonald, who had this to say.
Jerry, the importance that the crews play in this race because of the fact that it's 1,000 miles north to south.
Well, I'll tell you, they're probably the most important thing. You know, we've done all the work on the car, and the car's ready to run, and I've sort of been taking care of myself, and I'm ready to go. And really, the crews on a race like this is just incredible. They have to end up spending all night out there and running from checkpoint to checkpoint, and it just, being that it goes inland and then it comes back to the Pacific coast, it takes just a tremendous amount of people. You got to have like 2 separate crews, and their importance is going to be who the winner of this race is going to be the guy that has the best crews.
The last time we talked to Steve Kelly, he had a big smile on his face. He's a little dirtier than he is right now, but he had just won the Frontier 500. Now the big question is, can you back it up with a win in the Baja 1000?
Well, Marty, it's a long race. We're 2 for 2 now in the desert. We've been doing our homework. Truck's ready. 82, the last time I went to La Paz, I won the race. So I like the course. I like Mexico, and I think our chances are real good.
What strategic changes do you have to make from a closed course event to 1,000 miles from Ensenada to La Paz?
The biggest part is the logistics with the pit crews for our gassing points and our chase crews.
What about for the driver? The stress, the strain of especially the night driving. How dangerous does it really get?
Well, you do get tired. You're not particularly physically tired on this race course because it's an easier course than, say, the Frontier 500, but the time that you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to finish until maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, so you are physically and sleepy tired.
Is there one thing that you can put your finger on and say, this is what I must do to win this event?
We need to have no downtime, and there's just a couple tricky sections which we pre-run real well, so we're just going to run real hard.
Can you predict a victory?
Well, we're gonna try and win our class, and we're gonna try and be as far up in the overall section as we can.
Good luck.
Thank you, Marty.
Back at the Baja 1000, where it's 5:45 on race day. Most of the racers have been up for several hours, but some have been trying to get some sleep and not being very successful, thinking of what lies ahead. This race is not for the amateur, but for the well-seasoned racer who not only has the skill and stamina to endure the 1,013 miles to La Paz, but enough daring to take the challenge of the Baja terrain. The motorcycles are ready to go. All right, Marty, the first vehicle off the line is the factory-sponsored Husqvarna Open Bike of Garth Sweetland and Dan Ashcraft. Waiting for the 15-second interval is the factory Honda Bruce Ogilvie and Chuck Miller. Miller won the Baja 1000 in 1984, and Ogilvie is a 2-time winner of the Baja 1000 in his class. Miller taking the start. Next off is a Husky of Dan Smith and Larry Ressler. Ressler has won this race 3 times and Smith once. they have to be the pre-race favorites going in. Bike after bike being sent out in the morning dust as the watchful eye of the local federales keeps the crowd from getting too close to the starting line. Last year's winner, Randy Morales. Randy partnered with Randy Norman. That's Norman taking off right now. And here is Dan Ashcraft already working his way up through the canyon out of Ensenada.
You know, Bob, the first 20 miles are extremely dangerous because not only the fog, but the dust.
And following Ashcraft is Miller on the Honda.
And already moving up is Dan Smith on the Husky open bike.
As you can see, the dust is just hanging in the air, and soon the sun will be in the racers' eyes as they come out of the canyon. Already moving through the pack is the 250cc Honda of Yoshinori Matsura and Hiroshi Tananaka from Japan.
Gesundheit. You did well.
Thank you. Wasn't easy. Morning sun will play havoc on the racers. Number 473 ridden by Mark Vanscourt and Joe Bolton on a 250cc Honda. And here's the first class 30 bike already way ahead of the pack. That's Jim Fishback, not only an accomplished Baja racer, but also a Speedway champion. And Scott Morris on a factory 250cc Husky almost comes off the bike, but makes a great save. By the way, his partner is Daryl Folks, and both are from the Las Vegas, Nevada area.
Bob, here's a slow-mo replay of Chuck Miller hitting the same bump, and it's amazing how much softer the ride is when you keep both feet on the pegs. Now, we've received word that Miller has been having ignition problems, but he appears to have that cured and is back running strong.
And we're now back in Ensenada in front of what is known as the President's Palace, now a convention center. And we're awaiting the start of the four-wheel vehicles. Now, the first car is due to take off an hour after the last motorcycle, and ATV has left the line. Now, the man who drew the first starting spot is none other than Ivan Ironman Stewart, who earned his nickname here in Baja back in 1976. Marty is with him.
Last year's Baja 1000 was not very kind to Ivan Stewart. Had an accident with a spectator on an ATV. Nobody seriously hurt, but it was serious enough to knock you out of the race.
Well, it was, Marty. It's one of those things that happened down here, and there are a lot of spectators and a lot of farmers and ranchers on the roads. It's something being the first car you got to really, really watch for. Last year I was the first car on the road, and this year I'm going to be the first car also. So you have to be very, very aware and awake of what's coming on. And this guy just came around a corner on a blind curve, and I couldn't see him. Boom.
Speaking of being awake, what kind of time is it going to take for you to win this event?
Well, you know, we were down here the other night, pre-ran down from Camelou down to La Paz on a pre-run truck. I made it 19 hours. Camelou's 100 miles down the road, but, you know, I think we can make it in 20 hours or under.
What about the key to success? The Frontier 500, you had a lot of transmission breakage problems, downtime. It was not one of your better events. Can you rebound?
Yeah, we've cured those transmission problems, I'll guarantee you on that deal. It's just the truck is very, very, very good shape. It's well prepared. The pits are set up better than anybody here, I think. And we got a good shot at it. Maintaining concentration, not making any mistakes, not getting lost. Big factors, cattle on the road, the fog. If the fog comes in, if the tide comes in, those are all factors that are going to play on everybody here. If we hit it just right and don't make any mistakes, make all the right turns, we'll be at the finish line.
Well, Iron Man got his nickname because he was one of the few who can do this entirely by himself. 1,000 miles. Keep your eye on Truck 101.
Thank you, Marty. And as he said, he's going to take the lead off the starting line and hopefully not make any mistakes. Marty is now with Frank Vessels, who won the truck class in 1977 and came very close at this time last year. Here's Marty with Frank Vessels.
Just minutes before the start of the Baja 1000 for Frank Vessels. Frank, what's the pressure like for you getting going into this event?
I don't know about the pressure. We've been doing it so long. Everybody here in Class 8. I got all the four top runners are right here in a big bunch. But they're experienced enough that they'll take it easy. We got 1,000 miles to go. And if you get a whole bunch of pressure tied up early, your truck ain't going to make it through.
You seem very calm right now.
Well, I can say I'm calm, but I'm really not.
In other words, it's a good act.
You bet, you bet.
What's going to be the key to success for you?
The whole thing is to keep the car together. I'm sure you've heard that before, and to run down and set yourself a pace that is fast enough but does not tear up the equipment. Then halfway down, if the car seems good, then you can really start going racing.
Class 8, what kind of time is it going to take to win?
I think we're talking about 18 and a half, 19 hours.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
And as the seconds tick down, Vessels is ready to take the green flag and begin his 1,013-mile journey to La Paz. And now back to Marty, who is with the pre-race favorite of the Baja 1000. We're talking of none other than Walker Evans.
One of the most competitive, if not the most competitive classes is Class 8. Walker Evans has been king of the hill, but the crown has been dethroned every now and then. This class has really become competitive.
Oh, yeah, you never can tell who can win this class. I mean, we've got about 5 trucks in this class, and each one of them are capable of winning. I think we have 12 trucks total for this race, but you're going to have to look at 5 of them real hard. Like right there, Scoop Vessels is one of them, Steve Kelly, Dave Shop, I mean, a couple others too that are really good runners.
What is it going to take for Walker Evans to win this event?
Well, I think I can get down there in about 19 hours, and if I can do that without changing very many tires, without having any downtime, just keeping a good, hard pace, that's what it takes to win this race.
What about strategy with your crew? This is a nightmare for pit crews trying to keep up with you guys.
Well, it certainly is. We have some 38 people along the line down through there, 9 pit stops, have 3 to 4 people at every pit stop. Every one of them are waiting. They've been down there a couple of days ahead of time. The strategy's been laid. All it is we just got to be there at every one of them.
Good luck. We'll see you at La Paz.
Thank you. You bet.
Now ready for the unlimited single-seaters here at the Baja 1000. Ivan Stewart and others have already taken off. Here's number 104, driven by Tim Kennedy, who is attempting this ride solo in a VW-powered Chaparral. Last year's limited Class 10 winners, Steve Serapis and Dave Richardson, have switched to a Class 1 unlimited raceco and hope to pull off another upset Baja win.
Bob, looking at Mark McMillan, you know, he's won 3 Baja 1000 overall titles. His Porsche-powered Cheneth is one of the more dependable cars in the Baja event. He gets the green as Dan Blaine, driving the number 112 Funko, is being staged.
This is the Ensenada Taxi, piloted by Mexican driver Rafael Renova.
And there's the Larry Minor Miller Beer Class 2 Olds Calais of Chris Robinson and Roddy Anderson. And boy, does that car have a lot of power.
Speaking of power, here's another monster from the Larry Minor Miller Beer Racing team. This one driven by Steve Kelly. Steve is getting a few encouraging words from SCORE President Sal Fish. Car after car being sent out in 15-second intervals. The next stop is La Paz, 1,013 miles to the south. We're already a few hundred miles down the course, and the current overall leaders in the ATV class, 33 is this team, number 31 driven by Steve Fenton and Lance Schooner.
Number 61 on the Yamaha Quad Runner is Rod Fowler. He's leading that class.
Mark Weichseldorfer is one of the top 3-wheel racers, but has made the switch to a quad and is currently running in second.
You know, Bob, most motorcycle and car drivers will tell you that these 3- and 4-wheel guys are absolutely crazy. Can you imagine riding over 1,000 miles slightly off the center groove?
That's right. They really never ride in the middle of the road or in the groove, especially in the 3-wheel division. And that's got to be one very tough ride. Here's the current 4-wheel overall leader, Ivan Stewart, in his Toyota, as we see him flying over an obstacle in slow motion.
You know, this is the type of race course that Stewart really likes. It's perfectly suited to the massive power that the BFG Coors-sponsored Toyota pickup turns out.
A large portion of this Baja course is similar to this type of terrain, fast, dusty, and long. Now, Stewart was the class points leader until he developed problems last month at the Frontier 500 race in Las Vegas. Coming into this race, he really needs a win to stay on top of the points championship battle, something Toyota and Stewart have been working very hard on for the last 2 years.
Well, it looks like he's really well on his way, and we understand that he already has a 7-minute lead on the next Class 1 car. Now, there are many racers entered in this event who simply could not pre-run the entire course because of the time and money that it takes. But Stewart and the Toyota team have been here in Baja for several weeks, checking out various sections of the course. Now, as he said earlier, there are a number of things that can cause problems besides the terrain. As the race wears on, fatigue plays an important part, so staying alert is Stewart's main concern.
Bud Feldkamp of Redlands, California, and Ron Gardner of Laguna Hills, California, are teamed up in this single-seat Funko. Feldkamp and Malcolm Smith teamed up in 1975 and again in 77 when the class won an overall four-wheel vehicle in this race. So he is no stranger to the course. They're currently running very strong. Right behind Feldkamp is Larry Knoll in the number 103 Chaparral. Knoll owns a plastering company in Phoenix, Arizona, and is one of the fiercest competitors out there. He appears to be chopping at Stewart's lead. Bob Renz and Dick Clark, number 105, make an appearance in their Safeway Plumbing BFG-sponsored Raceco. And here's another Phoenix, Arizona driver, Tim Kennedy, who's also running among the leaders.
Now, we've moved down about 260 miles onto the course, just south of the town of Camalú, near the Pacific Ocean. And here with a surprise report, Larry Knoll has assumed the lead over Ivan Stewart as he's heading toward checkpoint 3 at Santa Maria. Now, apparently something has happened to Stewart, or Knoll is just flat out driving him. In any case, here's your unofficial overall leader at this point, Larry Knoll, car number 103.
Bob Jenkins and Marty Reed back at the Baja 1000, and the current leader in Class 2 is this Oldsmobile Calais of Chris Robinson and Roddy Anderson. This car used to race in Class 6S, but really had no competition, so Larry Minor entered it in Class 2 and is doing extremely well.
Well, you can see, Bob, that this vehicle is anything but a passenger car. We hear that there are going to be several race cars next year that will have stock or passenger bodies similar to this Olds. Now, this should make things quite interesting for the factories that produce these cars. You know, Larry Minor has done an excellent job in preparing this particular vehicle. Can you imagine taking one of your rental cars, you know, an Olds Calais out on this track? I know some people that have probably tried, but it wouldn't handle the punishment the way this car has.
Yeah, you know, this almost looks like something you would see at a NASCAR race or a Trans Am race. Not in quite that good condition, but still very similar appearing. We've just received a report that this car, driven by Bob Richardson and owned by 65-year-old co-driver Greg Simons, has had a run-in with 3 cows on the course. Now, apparently, there's been some damage to the steering, although it's not readily noticeable here. Simons is a former president of the Checkers Off-Road Club, waiting down the course with a $50 power steering box he bought at a local junkyard. Currently running in second in Class 2 is the RCR Plumbing Urban Pipe and Supply sponsored Raceco of Bob Ritchie and Tom Baker. And here's an entry all the way from Australia, being driven by Jim Hunter of Sydney.
Now, Frank Vessels in the BFG Vessel Stallion farm-sponsored Chevy C10 makes his appearance some 300 miles down course now. He's currently leading Class 8. That's the heavy metal class. Now, Vessel's co-rider is Gary Pace from Akron, Ohio, and they're taking the scenic route through Baja.
We've heard reports that Vessel's Chevy is having some overheating problems. You'll recall that he suffered similar problems during the running of the 500, Frontier 500 in November. But for now, the Chevy appears to be running strong as it weaves in and out of Baja's high desert. You know, Marty, this is one of the most scenic sections of the course. There are 20 and 30-foot high cactus, or is it cacti, that line the race course?
I think it's cacti, but you know, as you watch the maneuvering of Vessels inside the vehicle, remember that these trucks have power steering, and if that power steering goes out, it would be similar to a heavyweight boxer by the end of a fight. His arms would be awfully tired. Power steering is essential. You
know, one thing else that we should remember is that winning this race to an off-road driver is like winning the Indianapolis 500 to an IndyCar driver. As you can see, running behind one of the trucks can be a very choking experience. The course, as so often does, runs through farms and ranches.
And how would you like to have a race course come right through your backyard, Bob? These people do, and I must say they are really fantastic to allow the racers to do it.
Here's the man chasing current Class 8 leader Frank Vessels. Walker Evans in the Goodyear Barbary co-sponsored Dodge D150 has all the ponies unleashed and is trying to stay up with the charging Vessels. Let's take a look at the truck in slow motion. It just flat out flies. Evans not letting up for one moment.
You know, Bob, he has a temperature-controlled cab that helps keep all the dust and weather outside the vehicle. We saw him use it at the Frontier 500, but then his air conditioning apparently broke down, and he had to kick out the windows to just get some air. Evans has won the Baja 1000 race 8 different times, starting way back in 1970. Then again in 71, 73, 76, 78, 79, 83, and 85. And he's definitely the man to beat here. And he's got a massive effort underway. His pit people, numbering over 40, are located at various points along the course, just in case there are problems.
And here's another Class 8 entry, the number 808 Ford of Mario Antonio Lopez Cinco and Rafael Haro Pulido. Both are from La Paz, Mexico. And they're headed home in this Baja 1000. Ron Claiborne and Mario Alisi driving the number 806 Ford are trying to go over the jump, trying to stay close to leader Vessels and Evans. Juan Husong of Ensenada seems to be running quite strong in his number 810 Ford. And Steve McCatchern of Phoenix, Arizona is in the BFG Chevy Fleetside. And also approaching our camera is Steve Kelly. We have unconfirmed reports that Kelly is having oil pressure problems.
And yes, we just got that word from one of the On Dirt magazine radio reports that Kelly has had little or no oil pressure in his engine. Now, this problem apparently began just after the start of the race.
We'll have to check on that. Right now, it doesn't appear that Kelly is experiencing any problems at all, judging from the way he just went through that particular section of race course. We're watching Steve Kelly, and this is the next to the last time that Kelly will be racing this truck. He gets a brand new truck next year, and then this truck will be driven by John Clark Gable, who we saw recently at the Frontier 500. Gable is in the truck with Kelly now, and I'm sure he's getting some fine pointers from the veteran off-road racer. The Larry Minor Miller Beer team will then have 2 Class 8 trucks for next year, as well as the Class 2 Oldsmobile. That should be a terrific team for 1987.
Bob, the first of the Baja Bug classes have now worked their way through the first 400 miles or so of the race course.
And here is the Australian entry driven by Jim Hunter and Randy Salmon. You know, this car used to belong to Parnelli Jones and Bob Gordon. It was bought here, taken to Australia, where it dominated its class, and now is back here, but I understand it is for sale. Malcolm Smith has the distinction of having won the Baja 1000 on both a motorcycle and in a car, but he's been having problems lately just finishing a race. This state-of-the-art ORE Renault-powered Class 2 has had a few bugs that need to be ironed out.
Malcolm's coming up on some slower riders, and oh, look out. That's not Smith's fault. The rider just panicked. Smith did what he had to do, got behind him and signaled him, but the rider just apparently was not ready. If you ride a bike, it's got to be an awful feeling to hear one of these cars coming up on top of you. I know I'd have a coronary.
And here is the Candy Cane car driven by Walter Prince. Now, he's out here for fun. The last time somebody tried to pay him for placing in a race, he threatened to quit. Just simply likes to come out, run, and have a good time. If you think having a 2-seat buggy behind you is enough to scare the daylights out of you, imagine what this 3-wheel rider must feel as he hears a Class 8 Chevy of Steve Kelly on his tail. As you can see, Kelly gets around him nice and easy. Back at the Baja 1000, and as you can hear Larry Minor, the team owner, say, it appears to be all over for Steve Kelly. He's pulling in with what could be a blown engine. You remember we got reports earlier, and they were apparently correct. Sure. They're going to be pulling the hood off, but it doesn't look good. As you can see, the smoke billowing out from under the hood. Now that is John Clark Gable there, climbing out the passenger side. He's expressing a ray of optimism.
No, I mean, you'll be climbing out the window. Yeah,
having trouble with our radio mic?
But Larry Miner is on top of the car surveying the damage, and it does not look good, quite frankly, for Steve Kelly.
Don't turn over yet. Don't turn on.
Well, we started out the day with no oil pressure in the motor. We didn't think it'd go this long, but we made it down here, and it popped right here, so we're done for the day.
It looked as if you were going strong, but you told me that zero oil pressure right from the word go in Ensenada.
Absolutely. I don't know why. We don't understand it. I mean, it was a good, strong motor going out, and it just had no oil pressure starting off the line, so we had a major malfunction.
Every time the ESPN camera seemed to roll, we're in the wrong position for you at the wrong time. Last time you were rolling down a hill, and here, unfortunately, you look as if you're into retirement.
Yeah, well, that was a tough break for us today. We were running real hard, and hopefully we'll have better luck next time.
Last time we saw you rolling down the Nevada countryside.
Yeah, well, that was a learning experience in itself, and I was able to keep going and finish in third place, and I was real happy about that.
And here you expected obviously greater things, didn't you?
Yeah, I was hoping for a win here today in Baja.
What attracts you to this sort of racing?
I've loved it ever since I've been young, and I love Baja, and I like hard running down here, and that's what keeps me coming back.
Those are the words from the Larry Miner team. Meanwhile, about 450 miles into the course, Jim Hunter is now apparently pulling into the BFG pits for what appears to be a routine pit stop. In the meantime, Brian Stewart is also pulling in for what appears to be a normal pit stop to refuel. The BFG pit seems to be getting its share of traffic at this moment. Here comes yet another of the vehicles in.
You know, Bob, I'm sure they would have rather had them spaced out a little bit more. It means everybody has to do some work. And Stewart's stop seems to be a little more than normal. Apparently, they are going to be going to work. You can see the wrenches in hand, and it looks to be there's some problem with either the suspension or the brakes. And now they're climbing up on top of the car to check the air filter, so there may be some damage up there as well. Well, in the meantime, Jim Hunter and Randy Salmont get the go-ahead as they leave the pits freshly refueled.
Marty Frank Vessels is still reporting overheating problems, and now his 10-minute lead over Walker Evans has been reduced to only about 2 minutes. Vessels last won this Baja 1000 back in 1980 when he and Brad Stofers drove their Class 2 Blazer to victory. And this BFG Chevy is due in for a pit stop very shortly.
Bob, did you see how Vessels made a quick change in direction right there? This is the advantage of pre-running. In other words, he saw something up ahead that he wanted to avoid, made that quick jag to the right, and now he's back at full speed.
As is the case in any kind of racing, split-second decisions very important. And here's the man putting the pressure on Vessels, Walker Evans, trying to make up some lost time through this very tight canyon.
You know, this is where you have to really be careful, as those sharp and pointed rocks have a tendency to jump out in front of you, and they will take an awfully big bite out of your tires. Talk about taking a bite out of the tires. Buck Griffin and Don Coughlin can attest to that. They've already made a stop to replace one flat on their Jeep CJ8. You can see it hanging off the back there.
You know, the local ranchers really get into this race as they wave at the current Class 5 1600 leaders, David Ankner and Henry Aris. As you remember, this team won the Frontier 500 last month, and they look like they're on their way to another win. Mike Falkowski and Steve Tietz have put this Toyota of Carlsbad entry among the leaders in Class 7S. They apparently left something behind, like their front left fender.
Yeah. The Vessel Chevy is coming into the Santa Ynez pits. It's still holding a lead over the second-place truck of Walker Evans. Now, it looks as though the Vessels crew, yes, they will make a driver change. The safety net is going up, although I can't see who the new co-driver is climbing into the rig. Now, the Chevy's going to be topped off with fuel during this pit stop, and they'll check other fluids. In fact, you're seeing right up on top there, that's the radiator, folks. The reason it's up there is because all the stones that get kicked up in the normal front end position. Now, the fluids go in, the BFG crew now moving up front to check under the suspension for any possible damage there.
And our helicopter has spotted the hard-charging Walker Evans on the course. He's got a flat tire, and with no crew in sight, you have to get out and change it yourself. This is certainly going to put more pressure on him to try and catch Vessels.
Bad enough you've got to drive. Now you've got to get out and change your own tires, too. And look out. It looks like that truck, yes, it's slipping, Bob.
Oh, it almost fell off the jack, but they saved it.
That's not a very comfortable position for Randy to be in there. If that car falls down, it could hurt him, seriously.
And Vessel's pit stop is just about over. The trucks have been refueled and the radiator filled. Bob Jenkins and Marty Reed back for the Baja 1000, and the long pit stop is finally over for Walker Evans. He had to stop and change a tire, but they are ready to go once again. And now he's back on course and getting by a motorcycle rider, and he's leaving that poor guy in his dust. So we have a serious battle going on in Class 7S between Nissan's Spencer Lowe and Ford's Paul Simon.
Bob, here comes Simon pulling up behind Spencer Lowe, and it looks like, oh, ouch, look out, there's a little tap on the tailgate.
Well, a trading of a little paint here, just like they do in the NASCAR racing on the short tracks. But Lowe knows that Simon is back there just trying to keep him from getting by. This is a classic duel between two great drivers.
And here comes Simon up again on Spencer Lowe. In the meantime, he has to continue to eat the dust.
John Swift and David Turner pull up in their Mazda B2000 Class 7S entry. They're currently running 4th in class. And here's a well-known name among Baja circles, Mike Leon, owner of the famous Mike Sky Ranch, and that's a favorite watering hole in the Baja for off-roaders. Leon is unofficially leading in the Challenger class. This is the first time he's run in this class, and the first time for this car, although he's won a number of Baja races in his Class 5 Baja Bug.
That's Greg George and Jerry Welchel, the Class 1 Funko, not sounding too healthy as it crosses one of the many creeks on the course. Spencer Lowe is still holding off the challenge of Paul Simon, but how long can he keep him from getting by? Look at this. Can you believe this? This is absolutely great racing. I mean, you're seeing one of the best races anywhere. Simon has been following Lowe for almost 40 miles. In fact, they have been this close all day long, and Simon's lungs have got to be full of dust.
Some great competition here. And now we see Lowe finally letting Simon get by. Now, the unwritten rule in off-road racing is that if a vehicle catches you and taps you, then it's going faster than you, and you should let it go by. And that's exactly what Lowe has done. Simon now has clear running. The Jerry Welchel Greg George Funko continues to run, but that engine still sounds very, very rough. Meanwhile, in class number 8, Frank Vessels continues to lead, and he is about to reach the halfway point in the race. The BFG Chevy truck has not missed a beat so far. In fact, it seems to be running even stronger. You see our helicopter hovering overhead, watching Frank Vessels continue to lead in this class, class number 8.
Yeah, but look who's back on the scene. Bob Walker Evans, not too far behind. He's once again moving up on Vessels. This is going to be a great duel to the finish.
And look at this. Walker almost slams into a stray cow on the course. Locks up the wheels. That was really close, but Walker saved it. Just one of the many hazards, Marty, that you don't really consider sometimes in off-road racing.
That's for sure. You would never see that in IndyCar racing or NASCAR for that matter.
Here it is again in slow motion.
Okay, let's take a look at it, and you can see that the cow's not even on the course, but all of a sudden he's right in front of the truck, probably from the noise is all I can imagine, and he turns right into Walker. This could have been disastrous for the Dodge, let alone the cow.
But Walker is back on course again and really pushing hard now. Oh, in fact, he's pushing too hard. He's missed a turn. Now, this could have been disastrous had there been a sharp drop-off or a huge rock there. He is letting it all hang out, and I'm sure he's quite upset with himself right now.
Well, this is also one of those times when it's very tough to be the co-rider because you're at the mercy of the driver. You're going where he takes you.
Walker back on course now and really standing on it. And the sun now beginning to set on the course as John Cabe and Tom Evers come by in their Toyota.
And Bob, believe it or not, we're going to finally get our first look at Manny Esquera in the Class 7 Ford Ranger. Our camera's been looking for him all day long. Manny's had problems earlier, and he's been trailing Roger Mears and Larry Ragland all day long. That's why we had a hard time finding him. Usually he's up front.
Man, he would love to win this race and earn the Triple Crown after having won both the Mint 400 and the Frontier 500 races earlier this season.
No, I'm trying to find out who that is. No, that's not Walker Evans again. No, it's Spencer Lowe who has got the flat tire blues this time. And I guess that's what happens when you keep pushing those cars and trucks so hard.
As you can see, the shadows are getting really long on the Baja Peninsula. Those who plan to stay through the night and watch the racers go by are appearing to be starting the fires now and getting settled in for the evening. It's a bit chilly down here, although at 100 miles further south, the Baja Peninsula turns very tropical. Well, Jim Connor apparently leading Class 7 4x4, and a factory Nissan is stopping for some repairs. We hear that Dave Ashley in the Ford Ranger may have assumed the lead in this class.
Now here's a driver being very cautious as he crosses the creek. You never know how deep these are or what's under the water. Now many front ends have been ripped off by innocent-looking crossings just like that one.
We switch our position to La Paz for the conclusion of the Baja 1000. There are some 20,000 people lined up along the last 5 miles of the course waiting for the finishers. And they hear in the background a bike coming. It sounds like a 4-stroke. The crowd has been waiting all day for this. In fact, they've been waiting since 1982 to see the race finish in La Paz once again. Bruce Ogilvie pulls his factory-sponsored Honda in. He and his partner Chuck Miller are the apparent overall winners. Let's go down to Marty Reed, who's with Bruce Ogilvie.
Bruce Ogilvie, congratulations. A little over 18 hours. A tremendous effort.
Thank you.
What were conditions like out there?
Oh, it was pretty tough. Had a lot of problems. Everybody had a lot of problems. The dust, the silt, traffic. It was just a long, tough course.
Did you have any downtime?
Yeah, oh yeah. I fell off, broke my lights, had to cruise along with no lights for a long time, fixed my lights, got going again, shredded a rear tire real bad on the pavement. The tire came clear off the wheel. I ended up taking the tire off the rim and riding down on the rim for like 22 miles down the highway, down to my next pit.
Are you having fun now?
Oh yeah, I'm having fun now. I'm having fun now. Everybody.
Congratulations to you and your partner, Chuck Miller.
Okay, thank you very much.
And here's Larry Ressler, who had to ride the last 750 miles after partner Dan Smith crashed. As you can see, Larry is being mobbed by the spectators. The sirens begin to sound off for what could be the first car to arrive in La Paz. The checkered flag goes out. It's Mark McMillan, who not only captured the overall 4-wheel title, but has unofficially come within 21 minutes of being the fastest vehicle in the 1986 Pemex Baja 1000. Once again, let's go to Marty Reed at the finish line for his interview with Mark McMillan.
Mark, tell us how things went out there.
It went real smooth. Didn't have any problems all day long.
Nothing at all?
Not one problem all day long. Ivan Stewart ran strong, but he had some motor problems, and I think that's what cost him the race, but I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
That's almost unbelievable. Has that ever happened to you in any other race?
Never run without a flat before. Never gone all the way without a flat.
Absolutely fantastic performance. We're getting crushed by the people. The throngs just want to get in here. Have you ever seen a crowd reaction like this, Mark?
No, I haven't. I'm overwhelmed by it. I love Mexico. These Baja races have always been good to us, and this is what it's all about. If I get this overall, it'll be the 4th overall in 6 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Bob Gordon pulls in for the Class 2 win, 3rd overall spot, just 2 minutes behind McMillan. The crowd is once again going wild. Let's go to the impound area where yet another class winner has just pulled in. Marty with Walker Evans, the apparent winner of Class 8 and 13th overall.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
The king is back on top of the hill.
Yeah, well, he's never really been very far off. I want you to know that.
That's for sure. Go celebrate.
Okay, thank you.
And Sky Channel's cameras will be covering 6 of the American Off-Road Championship Series in 1987. The first one of those will be the Parker 400 from the Arizona desert, which we'll be bringing to you in February. We bring you the world of motorsport here on Sky Channel. After the break, part 1 of our review on the World Sports Car Championship Series.